Hi, my name is Owen of Van Trekking Lifestyle. And let's face it, the world we live in is a connected world. One that you need to be connected to the internet to do just about anything. Even my mom, who is 82 years old, uses the internet almost every day. She'll FaceTime us, or she'll look up recipes, or she'll look up reviews. She's even taken an online class. But the younger you are, probably the more the internet is important to you and the more data you're going to use each month. And if you're like us and living in an RV out on the road, well, it becomes a challenge. In today's Tuesday Tips episode, we're going to talk about the ever-changing world of LTE data and how all those frequent changes have caused Lynn and I to just say, screw it. We're going to try to live with our cell phone data as we travel during 2020. First, a little history. If you're like us, you remember Chris and Cherie saying that the Verizon prepaid $65 plan that came out a little over a year ago was the answer to everything, and we should jump on it. We took their advice and we did. And I have to say, it worked flawlessly for our trip in Florida last year. It worked flawlessly for our trip down to the Outer Banks. But when we headed out to Alaska, as soon as we crossed the border into Canada, it stopped working. But I guess we were okay with that and kind of expected it. We lived on 0.5 gigabytes of data the entire time we were crossing Canada into Alaska. But we expected when we got into Alaska it would start working again. But the truth is, it only worked 2 or 3 times the entire time we were in Alaska. It may have had to do more with the places that we chose to visit. Since we were frustrated with it anyway because it wasn't working, we were excited to learn that AT&T had this plan called TOGO coming out. We were on the road and we couldn't order the little thing to put up on the roof, so we were going to wait until we got back home, order that and install that, and that was going to be our solution. So we decided to just let the Verizon plan go by the wayside and just make do with our phones. That was later a decision that we'll come to regret. We thought, oh well, we're going to be using TOGO, so it doesn't matter to us, and our grandfathered number was gone. Fast forward one more month and AT&T decided that all these people using TOGO were using way too much data. So we're going to cancel it. We don't care if it ticks everybody off, we're going to cancel it. So that had a big impact on Lynn and I. It made us wish that we had paid the $65 per month to keep our unlimited hotspot from Verizon. In fact, when we were in Manatee Springs, we met up with Chris and Cherie, and they let us know that they had continued to pay for it, even though sometimes they didn't use it. They were smart. We were dumb. We wish we'd been like Chris and Cherie. But all that said, it left us where we are today. No real unlimited data plan at all. We have our cell phone plan and it says it's unlimited, but unlimited means you have a certain amount, a cap, that you can use. So we decided to see if 125 gigabytes of data between the two of us was going to be enough to live in Florida in our van. How's it worked out? Well, we're a little surprised to say that it's actually worked out okay. It's not as convenient as unlimited data at home, and it's not as convenient as unlimited data with the prepaid plan we have with Verizon. But with a little pre-thought and a little planning and a little bit of common sense, we've been able to make it work, and we think you can too. So maybe it would be a good idea to kind of level set what we use cell phone data for in the first place. Well, I'm betting it's a lot like the things that you use it for, except we have a YouTube channel, which means we need to upload episodes twice a week. We need to download music to use in the episodes. We need to research keywords. We need to do all the things that go along with managing a YouTube channel. And that eats up a lot of the data. But even so, we've been able to make it work. How, you might ask? Well, we've done some things to reduce the amount of data that we use on a regular basis. Like you probably are, we're pretty hooked on YouTube. And we watch a lot of YouTube content. So we went ahead and paid the $15 per month for YouTube Premium so we can download content to watch without using cell phone data. For TV entertainment, which honestly for us takes a lower priority, but on rainy days it sure helps to be able to watch a movie or to watch some of our favorite shows, we use Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, which allows us to download episodes when we're connected to Wi-Fi. When we're in populated areas like we've been in Florida, we found a lot of Starbucks. and we've drunk a lot of Starbucks coffee while we've been downloading and uploading content with their free Wi-Fi. But there are some caveats. We like to watch some live TV, specifically live sports, the Super Bowl and college basketball. We can either use our data to do that, or we can do it while we're eating hot wings at Buffalo Wild Wings. Luckily for us, we like hot wings. So since we only have one day left in our monthly cycle with Verizon, we thought it would be a good idea to share with you the numbers, exactly how we're doing. Like we said before, we have 125 gigabytes with Verizon. We use my phone for navigation and music and other things while we're actually driving. So my phone has a 75 gigabyte plan. Lynn has the 50 gigabyte plan. According to the My Verizon Data app, with just one day left in our cycle, I've used 60 of the 75 gigabytes that I have allotted. And Lynn has used only 28 of the 50 that she has allotted. So as far as cell phone LTE data, we've done really well. Where we've run into problems is using the phones as a hotspot to provide data for the iPads. We both prefer to use our iPads for work and for consuming entertainment. My 20 gigabytes of hotspot data, which also counts as LTE data, ran out 8 days ago. So I've been piggybacking on Lynn's a little bit. With just one day left in our cycle, Lynn has 1 gigabyte of her 15 gigabytes available still. And she's guarding that kind of the way Maggie guards a bone, so I'm staying away from it. In order to make all those numbers work, we estimate that we've gone to Starbucks 5 times this month. We estimate that we usually spend between $10 and $20 while we're there. Let's just say 10. So it's cost us $50 to use their Wi-Fi and drink their coffee while we're there. Some would say it might be better to spend the $50 on additional data. And those some people might be right. And by the way, we haven't camped in one single spot this season that has provided Wi-Fi that we can use. So we've been completely and totally dependent on cell phone data. In doing that, we figured out a few tips that can help you reduce the amount of data you use. We'll share those with you now. The first one, 480p is your friend. If you're watching TV or anything, you may be used to watching 4K. You're not going to get away with 4K on the road. I don't think you're really going to get away with using 1080p. It just uses too much space and too much data. So all of our devices are set to use 480p when we're consuming entertainment like YouTube or YouTube TV or Netflix or something. Tip number 2, find and use free Wi-Fi. If you're going out to eat and there's restaurant A and restaurant B does not have free Wi-Fi, chances are Lynn and I are going to choose restaurant A, even though we may prefer to eat at restaurant B, because we can download things to watch later, or we can upload pictures or videos. I mean, you get the idea. Tip number 3, if you use Google Maps for navigation, consider downloading the areas you're going to be visiting before you leave from home. We forgot to do that this time, and the next time we go into Starbucks, I'm going to download the maps for the rest of the trip because it's used almost 1 gigabyte of data this month. Did you know that? It uses quite a bit of data to actually keep you connected to those magic Google Maps. So if you can, download them ahead of time or stop in somewhere and download the areas that you want to travel in. Tip number 4, make sure you know which apps are using your cellular data. You can do that on an iPhone by just going to Settings, Cellular, and it'll show you each app and how much each app is used since the last time you reset the analytics. And by the way, when Verizon resets in one day, Lynn and I will go out there and scroll down to the bottom and we'll click on Reset Analytics. And that'll start all over at 0, and we can tell which apps are using the most data, and we can tell how much is being used for hotspots and other system activities. Tip number 5, if you have an iPhone, use the settings for low data mode. It'll shut down services like backups and upgrades and other things that will eat up a lot of data, and you won't have to do that on an individual basis for each one of those settings. That's one of my favorite things they've added in iOS 13, by the way. Tip number 6, Back up all your photos and videos on a regular basis to either a computer or an iPad instead of using iCloud. For us, every morning, one of the first things we do is make coffee, and then we airdrop the photos and videos from each phone over to my iPad. We don't delete them from the phones until we start running out of space. That way we actually do have a backup. Tip number 7, keep your eyes peeled for offers from some of the carriers that might seem to be too good to be true, because they're going to disappear pretty quickly. We've learned that the hard way. Just recently, AT&T had a hotspot plan for $35 that would have worked out really well for Lynn and I. We found out about it on February 14th. Guess when they terminated the plan? February 13th. So when you hear about one of these plans, make sure you jump on it if you think it's going to work, because chances are they're going to underestimate how much people are going to use it, and it's going to go away pretty quickly. Tip number 8, when you get back home, you can lower your data plan to something that's not as expensive with your carrier. For us, for Verizon, we can do that at any time, and it doesn't restart the 24-month cycle. A few other things we can mention. Be okay with being disconnected. It's not that bad of a thing to be in the world today and to be at a park and not be connected. I mean, we're out camping anyway, so being connected to each other and taking hikes and reading more books, those aren't bad things. We're just not used to it. But sometimes that's even better than being connected all the time. Lynn and I use a Wilson WeBoost cell phone booster to increase the signal that we get from Verizon. It works, I guess, okay. We just ordered a directional antenna for those times when we have a pretty weak signal. Other times we just have the trucker antenna on top of our van. I know we're not truckers. But you need to be prepared for the fact that sometimes you're going to have an unusable signal or no signal at all, and no booster in the world is going to help you with that. This is a hard one for us, but Apple's FaceTime feature, or Skype if you're using that, uses LTE data, and it uses a lot of it. So we've had to call our grandchildren a lot more than FaceTime with them like we do when we're home. So there you have it. If you're like us and you're just a part-time full-timer, we think you can probably make data from your cell phones work for you as you travel. If you're a real full-timer and out on the road and you're working or you need to stay connected, you're going to need to keep your eyes open for a real solution like a hotspot that has real unlimited data. And the next time you see one of those, grab it. You'll tell us thank you later. So that's just what we think, but we'd love to hear what you think. And if you have suggestions for how you make the most of your cell data as you travel, Lynn and I would love to hear from you in the comments below, and love for you to share that with this community. And as always, if you've liked anything about this video at all, we'd love it if you give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, think about doing that, because every Tuesday, not Wednesday, not Monday, but every Tuesday, we put out a series of tips that have helped us learn to travel more effectively and more efficiently, and we think they'll help you. Maggie says she prefers the dogs don't need no stinking data plan as her favorite plan for connecting a cell phone. She leaves P-mail, and everywhere we go, she checks on answers to those P-mails, and your dogs probably do the same thing. Until we see you again, we're glad you're part of our journey. Happy Tales.